Good morning or afternoon or evening, folks. It's and hello, Martina. And every time I'm going to see Joe Rasmussen on these calls now, I'm going to feel really bad because I know it's in the middle of the night for him. Before I could just be ignorant, but when
I'll
when
survive.
I don't quite know how you do it. I have a really hard time with those. But anyway, it's great to
But
have you here.
when the alarm goes off, I say, I'm not going to do it. And then I come around to the idea.
Well, it's very forward. Yes, Martinez applauding. That is very admirable. Admirable, I'll put it that way. All right, I'm going to, as we let folks roll in here, I'm going to share my screen, and I think that's the right window. Yeah, good. Uh, get things arranged. We'll let folks pull on in. I think today we'll have both of the co-chairs, Martina and Nikki. That would be wonderful. Always depends on schedules out there. Let me get the chat up too. Yeah, you're quite right. Sekershan's a superstar. I don't. He's the only one besides myself that regularly attends or has been attending both the North Americas and Europe meeting and the APAC meeting. So love that. He's also putting out an astounding stream of new articles on his uh, Substack, the trust graph. Segershan, do you have uh, do you want to put a link to your in the chat to your latest? Actually, I think you might have published something since then. I saw something late
I'll
last
do
night,
that.
but you did one called First Person Credentials. Um, and yeah, I was as another power packed, and I Jackie Chan's blog was recommended reading for everyone. All right, we're 4 minutes after, so and we have a packed agenda today. So oh good. Reese's joining us so he can get a preview of what we'll be talking about or what I'll be trying to convey in 20 minutes tomorrow. I, I finished my slides last night and I thought, okay, I'm trying to get across the essence of a whole bunch of stuff in 20 minutes, but I think I can do it. Yeah, thank you, Saker Shen. I'm gonna, whoops. Oh, there it is. Uh, so just gonna copy the link, but anyway. Uh, oh, that's your newest one. Your agents are failing your mandates or not. But this one down here, first person credentials, is the one that I was recommending. But I'll put a link into where did I put that over there? Okay, go back to this one. Oops, that's Nikki's document that we'll show here in a minute. All right, I'm going to put this in. Go into edit mode and just add this right here. All right, let's go ahead and get going. Welcome everyone to the March 4th, we're in March already, Decentralized Trustcraft Working Group meeting. And as always, the first thing we do is share that we are operating under the Linux Foundation antitrust policy notice. And we encourage everyone to, you're welcome, everyone, it's a public call, everyone's welcome, but if you want to actively contribute and be a member of either TrustRP or DIF, Decentralized Identity Foundation, we're a joint working group of both of those organizations. um, So, are there any new members who want to do an introduction? You're most welcome. And then we also have just put your hand up if you want to say one. I'm also going to pop up. We have a very rich member bio page here, which anyone can write to, and I'll put them in the chat. If you want to put any information about yourself or learn about others on the call, you can use the bio page there. And if there's if there's not, let's dive right into it because we have a packed agenda today. I'll quickly review it. We'll get an update uh, if Nikki's here. Otherwise, I'll give a very brief one on the risk assessment harvest task force meeting yesterday. We quickly want to at the start of the meeting because we have a demo at the end. Go over proposed new task forces and associated repos that we want to get requested gets stood up. Then we'll dive into a report on last week's H2H Summit on Human Agency and the Linux Foundation Member Summit and takeaways from that, from those of us who were there. Um, and I'll go, and then we want to share if yeah, Jeff's here about the new the three new projects contributed to open to LFDT Labs officially last week. And we'll tell you about the workshop we had with the Linux kernel folks. And lastly, last 15 minutes, they have a conflicting meeting, so they asked to be at the end of the agenda. The Harvard Applied Social Media Lab team, Brendan Miller, Albert Leon, will demonstrate their ASML wallet, which is an implementation of everything we're talking about here. So that's a lot to go through, and we'll back up and just say start out any announcements other than I'm pre-announcing Riza, and I'll put the link in the Quai Summit in Pasadena tomorrow, to which I'm flying down today. Copy that link there, or you may have already put that. Oh, there it is. You've already put the link in there. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that? Or Reese's already left. Oh, he was just checking in to make sure we all knew about it. There we go. And Stanko's has put in his link to his Trust Graph articles. Are there any other announcements anyone wants to make before we dive into the rest of the agenda? All right, just checking. Okay, both of the two action items from our last meeting have been postponed, and we'll hit this agenda item shortly. We waited on the requesting the first new repo because we actually have a total of 5 repos we want to spin up. So I'll cover that in a minute. And one of them, I also was going to post the agent names FAQ that we presented in the last meeting 2 weeks ago. But we're now going to post, we want a task force for that and therefore a dedicated repo, and that's where we want to put it. So as soon as we have that, we'll get that posted up there. There is a link to it in the notes from last meeting, the Google Doc. So now onto the risk assessment harvest prevention task force, and I don't see Nikki here today. So I'm going to quickly say that she has prepared a wonderful document, which I will show here, an early one, and I think it's over here. So I'm well down. I'll back up to this part. Personas doc, and I will, let's see, is this? Oh, interesting. It's not, I think I can change that though. Oh, good, I can, yes. It should be open now to anyone. I'm going to copy the link and put that in here. GRA AHP personas. There is a link to this doc. And all I'm going to do is just, it's still a fairly early stage, but you can see the purpose of the doc and what Nikki has she's done this for years. She's really good at analyzing, and she's developed a number of personas. In this case, this is Daniel Wright, the initiator under pressure. And for all of them, you'll see the basic information, their goals and motivations, risk context, and then inclusion and exclusion factors, and the key use cases thereafter. And you can just see the different ones. A community trust anchor, a new member seeking inclusion, identity verification provider, it's another one, and then a member that's been subject to revocation from a VTC. And then she's also adding, or we added yesterday, machine personas, the whole subject of dealing with AI agents that are part of a verifiable trust community, and those would be fun. And then we're also going to cover multiple bad actor personas, so we understand various attack vectors. So that's just a quick preview of where that is. That task force now meets every 2 weeks at 7:30 a.m. on Tuesdays, Tuesday Pacific time. All right. Any questions about any of that before we go on to the next agenda item? Just checking in. All right. Okay. Again, this is just to a logistical item I'm going to get out of the way because, again, we have the demo at the end. We had a lot of great discussions, which we'll get to shortly in the conferences last week. The decentralized trust graph as a concept, and the working group as a working entity, a pretty hot topic at the Linux Foundation right now. And so it was clear that we want to basically get, crank out specs as fast as we can. As you'll see, the code is keeping track. We're getting ahead of the specs in some cases, and we need to catch up. So two of these task forces, the proposed new task forces, are already on our list of ones that we talked about at the very start. We've added the proposed rules for the agent names task force based on the fact that we put in. I will add a link to that just for anyone who's new to that. And that's the Google Doc. Again, it's already linked in the last meetings, the last minute of the last minutes, the last meeting. So anyway, these are the three proposed new task forces that we're proposing to, and we would, the action item is we'll create the home pages and request the repos for that before the next meeting. And that actually then means 4 repos. We need one for the existing task force that doesn't have one yet, risk assessment, harms prevention, and for the other 3. And then we're taking, this is not a specific responsibility of this working group, but we're the working group that's now going to be cranking out a bunch of new specs, and we're the ones who are going to be driving the development of the TOIP spec template, for which we have instructions from Jory Burson, the VP of Standards at Linux Foundation. So this isn't really, we don't have to hold a vote on this or anything. I'm just making sure everyone knows this is what's underway. And I think I'll just say chairs will request this set of repos. We know how to do that from LF staff. So again, that's mostly just logistics. I see the room is nicely filled out now. And so this is perfect. We can now get to sort of the meat of today's meeting. So those of us who were there, love to just give folks a flavor. I know folks who were not there have been asking questions about the 2 meetings that took place, or conferences took place last week. The H2H Summit on Human Agency. I'll put the link there so you can, hang on, let's see. Copy that there. Yes. That's the link. You can look at the schedule. Actually, the number one takeaway from that event is that it had the most packed agenda of anything that people had been to in recent memory. It was just a wall of great content. And as I said, I just quickly listed some of my major takeaways, and I'll run through them quickly, and then I want to hand the ball over to those. I know as I look at folks right, oh, this is great. Alberto just joined. He was there. Joe Rasmussen, you were there. Martina. I want to encourage everyone to share their feedback. So the Summit on Human Agency was basically our work and the work of the a number of other trustworthy projects, but also others working on the whole challenge of human agency in the age of AI. Were That was the focus of the whole day. It was just the entire subject. The bookend talks, the opening talk by a podcaster named Baratunde Thurston, who's also a comedian, uh, was just a 10-minute talk, and the one at the end of the day by Michelle Dennedy were two of the best talks I have heard at any conference in just a year. It was just, very personal, very heartfelt about the importance of human agency in the age of AI. And actually, I just in terms of the quality of the talks and sort of the depth of them, I'm just going to stop right there. I see both Brenda and Alberto were able to. You got out of your other meeting fairly quickly, so glad to have you here. I want to just invite others who were there. Let's talk about Monday first. Share takeaways, impressions. Again, mine are on the screen, but who else would like to talk about their takeaways from last Monday? Ignore my hand being up. Once it goes up, I don't know how to put it down when I'm sharing my screen. So don't all put up your hands at once. Go ahead, Joe.
A recurring theme I thought in lots of talks was the logistics and the difficulty of dealing with AIs in code space. So there was a kind of a denial of service type of problem where people were being inundated by code, of slop code was one sort of thing, one sort of interaction that was reported on many times. And the other one that seemed to come up quite a lot was people rejecting a pull request or somehow slighting a, uh, a bot, and the bot then going crazy, flaming that person in whatever other forums the bot could find. So that was two fairly negative, I suppose, takeaways that came up as repeat items in a few meetings across the 3 days, really.
It's a great point, and we heard heard that throughout the second 2 days links member summit conference too, which makes our work on the trust graph even more important. Um, so again, I don't want to you know anyone else who Brenda, Alberto, Margaret, Margie, um, any other takeaways that you want to share?
I'll just say very briefly that I thought it was a good confirmation of our approach. You know, the importance of trust, understanding delegation to agents, etc. And so yeah, we're on the right track. And they use this. Yeah, it was someone just asked about it in the chat. Is the H2H Connect app. So that is something that was allowing the relationship credential exchange for participants and is very similar to what Alberto are working on top of the Open Wallet Foundation. So we have a demo that'll come a little later, but basically it was a confirmation in a group of a couple hundred people that this technique can work. And so it was a great proof of concept. That's all I would add to it.
Yes. Go ahead, Brent. I'll say more about the H2H Connect app because I just got late last night a bunch of statistics about its use. Go ahead, Alberto.
Yeah, just to add a few more words there. It was great to be there. It was a great experience for both the human to human agency summit and then the Linux Foundation summit. It was like Brendan said, it was a great confirmation. Plus, I got to see some of you folks in this meeting, which is always great to see in person. And it was also great to see and learn from the Linux kernel maintainers, right? And having them see the protocols and the specifications we've been working on, and seeing their excitement, and that just made me even more excited. So it was pretty awesome.
Very cool. And I did that's the last takeaway I had listed here of these six was about Brendan, Alberto, Margie, all of us that were there from the DTG working group were invited to a workshop that we had on the second day of the Linux Foundation Member Summit with the Linux kernel maintainers and LFDT leadership and some other folks from LFX, the Linux Foundation platform. And you're right, it was super exciting. As many folks might know, the original, really the start of the first person initiative and the genesis of this working group was the Linux Foundation Member Summit a year ago when Jim Zemlin made it his keynote address to say we need decentralized trust solutions. And then they really liked the design, what's now we call a decentralized trust graph. So it was very exciting to come a year later and not only have be down the road towards the specifications we need for that, but then to show it in code. And although he's not here right now, got a huge hat tip to Glenn Gore at Affinity. Affinity was the company that produced the H2H app that was used on Monday by all the participants, um, and then gave a demonstration of these projects that we'll talk about next in that workshop, an extensive demonstration. And it got across to the maintainers, to everyone in the room, this is real, this is happening. And the important part, this last takeaway here was what we discussed is a clear path now to go from where the code is to over the next 6 months to hopefully a decision at the Linux Kernel Maintainers Summit on October 8th in Prague to actually stand up their verifiable trust community and put it into production. And we wanted to, as Jeff will explain here shortly, we wanted to take the code and have it all officially submitted to Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Labs. So it was, the code that Glenn was showing was all now officially homed under LF Decentralized Trust. And again, there's the other implementation going on is the one you'll see coming from Brendan Alberto in the our final agenda item today. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm going to, there was, in addition to that workshop on the second day of LF Member Summit, there were two sessions that we had approved on that afternoon. And one was Greg Crow-Hartman, who's the number two to Linus in the Linux kernel maintainers, Hart Montgomery, the CTO of LFDT, and Glenn Gore explaining the Linux kernel, what used to be called the Maintainers Project, Linux kernel Maintainer Verification Project, and now officially has these names OpenVTC. And they gave a whole session on it, and we did not know that, but there was a ZDNet reporter there who wrote up this article here. There it is in the chat. And it was yeah. So there was actually I didn't see any other press yet about the events, but that article came out fairly quickly, like the next day. So you can read up on that, how the message got across there. That was pretty exciting. I also, let's see, I'm gonna stop sharing and switch over to a different window, because what I'll show you is, what do I have it here? Yes, the blog, a blog post on the on the whole thing. I was asked by Daniela to draft something yesterday that's in review today for being posted tomorrow before before Danielle and I speak at the Kwai Summit tomorrow. And down near the end of this thing covers. I want to show you. Uh, well, I'm going to just skip to the end to get the quotes here. In this last part, we talk about the H2H Connect app. And in the last paragraph, I have the stats from Glenn Gore that he reported to Danielle last night. So roughly 200 attendees, and with that app, oh, interesting. Oh, no, it's down here. Sorry, I didn't go far enough. With that app, over 650 person-person connections were made, over 250 human-to-agent connections, because with the same app, you can connect with a person or an agent, AI agents representing the different, as you see them up here, H2H Affinity, Google, FaceTech. Actually, there's one representing first person too there, but I didn't have it listed. And and using that, and the app speaks DIDCOM, over 30,000 messages were exchanged, because it is a, once you form a connection, you can have a secure chat with either a person or an agent. So those are the stats. Glenn had a couple others, but anyway, it was for a brand new app put in people's hands for the first day, and we will admit there's a lot of UX work that needs to be done. It's far from perfect, but it was a very robust test of exactly what we're doing here at the first person. I mean, at the Decentralized Trust Graph Working Group. Okay, so rather than show that, let me see. I want to go back to stop sharing and just see. Okay, we have Brendan Alberto. I have you for the final 15 minutes. Is that going to be enough time, or are we going to need more time than that for your demo? I'm just wanting to make sure we provide enough time for that.
Yeah, I think that should be enough. Yeah.
Okay. Then what I'd like to do now is quickly report out on these new. Jeff just quickly summarize for you these three new projects that he worked with Glenn to get contributed to LFDT Labs, and then I can show you a quick a slide sequence we used that's now also what I put in that blog post article, and that we can do that in the next 15 minutes, and then have Brendan Alberto do their demo. So Jeff, do you want to, so I can copy these links over so folks can look at the cover pages of these three projects?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start with the last one first because, excuse me, the second one first, the DTG credentials, because everyone here has seen that already. We had that in a repo, separate repo before. That was basically version 0.3 of the DTG spec we've been working on, implemented in Rust code by Glenn. And now that's been moved to LFDT as a lab repo there as well. So that one will be familiar to you. The first one there, what we've been calling is now called OpenVTC. This was what we were talking about, and previously this is the application for the Linux. Is a CLI tool, a command line interface tool that Linux kernel maintainers and ultimately other open source project developers and maintainers would be using to generate their DTG credentials and share them, swap VRCs, etc., generate DIDs, So this has now been renamed, rebranded as OpenVTC for Verifiable Trust Community. That's also under an LFDT Labs repo as well now. And the final one, the third one there is what we're calling the verifiable trust infrastructure. So in previous calls, we've talked about the concept of verifiable trust agents, which are online agents that your wallet, I guess you could say your wallet would be pairing with and communicating with other people's agents online. So this has everything to do with individual verifiable trust agents for, on an individual level and also on a community level. So there is a fair bit of infrastructure that's needed aside from these agents, online agents. There's stuff that would host your DIDs. There's a trust registry for the various communities, so they have a updated members list, etc. Also, a secure policy enforcement point, which would be applying security policies for the verifiable trust community. So that's all under the verifiable trust infrastructure. Then uh, number two is relatively static right now because we're on version 0.3, and that seems to be pretty uh, robust and solid for what we've been doing recently. So Brendan and Alberto's demo that they're going to show soon is built on top of the 0.3 DTG credential spec, as is the OpenVTC and verifiable trust infrastructure uh, work as well. I think the only thing worth mentioning is OpenVTC and VTI, verifiable trust infrastructure. These are rapidly moving. You'll see there's code getting committed to it just about every day by Glenn. So he's plowing away on that and moving quite quickly. And I've been testing it with a colleague of mine as he's been producing it and just trying to replicate everything and make sure, we're squeezing out bugs as quickly as we can. So that's a fast-moving target, so you'll see a lot of stuff happening there in the coming weeks. I think that's about all we need to add there. So I'll pass it back to you,
That's
John.
no, that's fantastic. I I know that because Glenn was literally previewing some new stuff on Signal with me at close to midnight last night. I was like, "What he just keeps going. All that guy has. I don't know if he sleeps. It's pretty amazing." So thanks, Jeff, and kudos to you for helping steward all that. Jeff's joined remotely for the workshop we had, and it's again, it's very gratifying to see that the maintainers, a new maintainer who's responsible, Shua is her name, who's responsible for the mentor program at the for the kernel, and has 200 is a core of 200 mentor candidates every quarter, so 4 times a year. They wanted her to come to see how this new way of managing trust and forming all these new relationships and exposing them then to the to the repos and the code and everything. And she asked some fantastic questions. She was quite enthusiastic about how this can automate things that currently have to be done manually with their Web of Trust architecture. All right, what I love to do now is the presentation I created with input from a bunch of folks for that workshop. I'm going to quickly I'll stop sharing and show you this because it's actually I'm going to show you the version I'm using with just a few additional slides. That's what I'm going to be showing at the Quai workshop tomorrow. So let me share it here. Yeah. And I'll go to full screen. Tell me if you can see this. Is it coming through? I'm not hearing anyone say yes or no.
It
Is
is.
it?
Yes,
Oh,
Yes,
it
all
is.
good
Okay,
there.
good. I just wanted to make sure it was there. All right, I'll go further quickly because a lot of this is I want to get to the part that's new, but this is also what we have in the blog post. Um, so what we did, we start out the story. I to skip that one. The same way, make sure folks have the context of Jim's on saying, hey, the Linux Foundation needs decentralized trust technologies because of malware attacks like the famous XE attack. And this is when he basically said, hey, let's we need a solution like this, which we now call the decentralized trust graph, and it works like a essentially automating the key signing party, the manual process that's used today for the web of trust. So what we pointed out, especially to the folks like the maintainers, is that problem has only gotten worse. Whereas the XE util attacks was 2 years of essentially social engineering to pull off. One of the latest ones using OpenClaw took 2 weeks using an OpenClaw agent, and this is absolutely fascinating. You can look this up any place. This is actually the final section of the article that was the cover page from, and pointing out that the agent opened 103 pull requests across 95 repositories in 2 weeks. Several already merged. This was not a malicious attack like XE utils. It was simply saying, hey, agents can now be productive contributors. This led to this issue of, okay, the overwhelming maintainers of projects, if any AI agent can make any kind of contribution. If you can't know whether you see this last line, it's easy on an agent operating with malicious instructions use the same approach to rapidly establish credibility across critical infrastructure. Yes, without the decentralized trust graph, that's what can happen. So then we shared the good news. Now this is a new version of it for tomorrow. This is again when I'm just explaining, hey, we now have a decentralized trust graph working group, and here's a link to the homepage. At LFDT, we actually went through a list of everything that's happened over the last year. Now this is the part I wanted to share and just get everyone's reaction. How do you explain this? So, well, because we're talking to Linux kernel folks, we said, okay, let's explain exactly how we're going to build on the web of trust model. So start with these three basic building blocks. We all know that the ultimate building block is keys. This is how we get to the unfakeable essence of the control points. And the two primary innovations, building blocks, are, of course, decentralized identifiers, so that you now have continuity of the identity associated with those keys. You can do key and endpoint rotation without any centralized registries. And yes, it's a W3C standard now in its second generation. And Otto, I think, is with us. I don't have the up right now. Still, as one of the co-chairs of that, Otto, thank you for the work you're doing there. I wish
My pleasure.
Well,
1.1 candidate recommendation coming out soon.
That is fantastic, and really, seriously, it makes all the difference. And I know that one key person, Greg Pro Hartman, and Constantine, that maintains the current web of trust for the Linux kernel, having them understand the role of DIDs and VCs was the turning point for them, saying, okay, we get it. We get how this is really going to improve on what they've got. So anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm just explaining how do we explain this to the larger audiences. So with these three building blocks, we can now build a graph of trust relationships. And for this conference, I said, hey, the folks, to explain it to the folks that are using a web of trust, now let's just use the diagram right off of the Wikipedia page explaining web of trust. This is the one that's been there for as long as I've been going to that page. And you can see how Ingo has these bidirectional direct trust relationships here, but then her web of trust extends to the rest of these folks, and even to folks that do not have any direct trust relationship. So we said, in a decentralized trust graph, we represent those with verifiable relationship credentials. And then I want to make sure that folks, and it's amazing how people lean forward and pay attention when you go, and this is how it really works, right? And you've all seen how we do this. I do the bouncing ball now. I just have Alice presenting the Bob, and the keys are generated for the DID document. I stress that this is much easier if you have a self-certifying identifier. Bob sends that back to Alice, who verifies that against the nonce in that, and then she does the same thing for Bob, and that creates the private channel the two of them can now use with DIDCOM or TSP, and away we go. And then the next step, of course, is the generation of the verifiable relationship credential and Bob signing it and issuing that to Alice, who verifies that signature, and then she does the same thing for Bob. And that is the core DNA, as we know, that we're dealing with in building the decentralized trust graph. So then we said, okay, now let's go back to the web of trust and say, what does this now look like when we actually implement as decentralized trust graph credentials, DTG credentials? Well, this trust relationship, in fact, all of these trust relationships are now represented as VRCs in the various wallets of the different participants. But this then begs the question, okay, but where's the community? If this is the Linux Foundation, the Linux kernel maintainers, where's the community here? And it highlights the problem with the web of trust model only has peers. Peers just sign the keys of other peers. There's no community other than your community is just the peers that you're connected to. So this allows us to really stress we need a solution that actually works for whole communities. And that's why in our model, there are 4 types of nodes. There are people, there are devices, there are agents, and there are BTCs. And that's what allows us to actually express not just peer-to-peer relationships, but member relationships. And with member relationships and a credential designed to do that, we can, with communities that follow the right governance, do proof of personhood. But we can also do proof of agenthood. And we can do it all with one model. This is the conference I'm presenting to today is tomorrow is of course an AI conference, and the whole point is we can have one way of establishing trust that is scalable for the whole thing. And it also, in that model, people can be in control because they can be using a software called the personal network manager to control devices or agents on an individual standpoint, or a community network manager to control the agents or verifiable trust communities, and if they're the administrators or trustees or whatever you want to call them. And this model can, provide the control all the way around. So when you go back to this and you say, now take the web of trust model and add the verifiable trust community, now you can have verifiable proof of all these relationships being in a community like the Linux kernel. And I'll make one more point here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brendan Alberto, which is, well, how do we actually turn this from a manual to an automated process? That's what the role of the VTAs. Rather than people having to do all this, let's get the agents to do it. And that's our job is now, after the credentials, to define this small set of trust task protocols so that you can now automate this process between the VTAs representing all of the individuals and the community together. And the final point I'll be making, I did not include this, I stopped there, but that's what, once you have VTCs, you can now scale this model. Unlike the web of trust model, you can scale it the same way the web scales. And that's how we form verifiable trust networks in any configuration that folks want to put together. So anyway, my summary slide, just so you know it, is going to hit these points. I'm just going to click them through so I can give this over. But all of these things are now possible with the decentralized trust graph model that are not essentially have not been possible with the web of trust. And that's my quick preview. I hope if you have any feedback on that, please let me know, because this is sort of our through line story now. It worked very well last week. And I want to turn it over to Brendan Alberto now to show you a demonstration of it actually working. Thanks, Otto. So over to the two of you.
Thank you, Drummond. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. If folks could let me know if you're able to see a terminal and a couple of screens. All right, great. All right, so let me just start off by explaining first what we're seeing on the screens. So I have two devices running and a terminal open. So the very first one from left to right is an Android device, and then on the right up next to it is an iOS device. So I'm going to go ahead and first walk you guys through what we've been building here at the Applied Social Media Lab. What you're going to be seeing here on the iOS device is an onboarding, like any other mobile app. We just kind of go through the explanation, the motivations of building something like this. Of course, we explain also the features that the app actually has. For example, as most people know, well, verifiable credentials usually tend to go from organization to wallet. So this is also the case. You can also do it here, but we also can create these trusted connections, and this is kind of more tailored to what Drummond was saying. And actually, and to use the same terms from the slides, you can see the app as a PNM, a personal network manager. So, of course, the wallet is secured as well, and we just give information with that. And I'm going to go through the setup now, and I'm going to start by setting a pin. I'll just put a random pin here, just for demo purposes, and then I can activate biometrics. This biometrics will allow me to unlock the wallet. I'll go ahead and continue. I guess for now, I'll say yes, I'll allow notifications, and then we get to the R card. So the R card is specified in the credential task force as sort of, you guys can look at it as a business card. There's a lot of information on the actual trust over IP the credential task force repo that we help draft with the various specification for the different credentials. And you can see this as kind of our first persona. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the data here. I'm going to put an email. And then I'm just going to put an organization. So I'm going to say ASML. All right, we'll press continue. And then this is going to start up the wallet. And there you go. So that's kind of the onboarding of the wallet. So I'm just going to go ahead and open on the other screen on the Android device, the equivalent. So I've already did some onboarding on this one, so I'm not going to take you guys through that. I'm going to unlock the wallet with biometrics. I'm going to start that up. Okay, now we have two wallets running, one on Android and one on iOS. And just for clarity, we are running this on React Native. I'm going to go to contacts here, and there's an icon on the top right, and I'm going to be explaining the witness attestation that we built when we do an exchange. So right now I'm going to go ahead and click that icon on the top right on both devices, and at the moment there is no witness detected. So what we've done here at the lab is, Drummond just explained a really good diagram, which we used to follow that was on the original white paper, where there's an exchange of, DIDs and then a VRC exchange. We kind of went a little bit further and we decided to, and this is also specified in the credential task force, is basically a witnessed VRC. And it's actually called verifiable witnessed credential. So what we do there is we spin up a server, which you'll see in a minute, and that runs on MDNS or multicast DNS, which basically broadcasts onto the local network, and it will find the witness server. So the MDNS is what probably most printers use to be able to for your computer to find it, and some Apple devices. So what that will do basically is allow for a witness to basically be testimony of an exchange. So I'm going to go ahead, and if folks can let me know if you guys can see the terminal. I'm not sure if it's going to be too small for you guys, but hopefully you guys can see it. So I'm running the server right now. Oops, did I run that correctly? Let me do that again. All right, so it's running. Okay, now it's up. All right, so what this is happening in very basic terms is just another agent. It has its own did. For this whole demo, we're using did peer, and we are creating a witness server named ASML witness, and we're just calling this event, for demo purposes, the DTGWG weekly meeting. So we have this running, and on the mobile apps, I will go ahead and update, just pull this down. I'm going to add an extra permission here to be able to see the witness being detected. So we're just basically looking for any possible witness. You can connect to more than one witness. And I will go ahead and connect. All right, so on the right side, you could see there is a new participant with its proper did peer. And then do the same for the other device. And now we have um, two devices connected to the witness. And basically what's happening there is just there's a session acknowledgement between the device and the witness, and then the same for the other device. What I'll do now is I'll explain an extra kind of level of assurance that we added, which I'll go to menu, and there is a hardware attestation feature that we can turn on. There we go. So what's happening here once I turn that on is we've built a way to kind of attest through the secure enclaves of the devices. So what we're doing is we're signing with the private key that lives under the T's on each respective hardware, and then using that and sending that through along with the VRC. So this is not part of the credential specs that we have currently drafted. This is something that the lab is experimenting with. We wanted to take it a step further than just having it witnessed, but also to be able to, send a hardware attestation, which basically is represented through a chain of certificates. So that's an X509 chain of certificates. It gets sent to the other party, and then through there, each mobile device will verify that chain attestation, and we'll consider whether to add a badge or not. So I'm going to go ahead and just walk you guys through the flow. So the way this works, as demonstrated in the white paper, is we generate a QR code, and this can be done on either device. So I'm just going to give that an extra permission, and then I'm going to do the same again, and I'm going to scan it on the other one. So I'll go ahead and scan this. So that's being scanned. Now at this point, the VRC exchange is asking me for biometrics. This is mainly because the trusted enclaves on each device is accessed through the biometrics. So that's what I'll do here. So I'll give biometrics on one, and then I'll give biometrics on the other. So now this is now going to be generating a session on each device. You guys can see the terminal information on the right hand side. And what this is doing at this point is basically the witness is asking for each device a verifiable presentation. So each one has received a VRC or witnessed a VRC. You can see the offer there on the screens on each device. And of course, the witness is verifying the presentation, making sure the challenges look correct, and it's coordinating everything between the two devices. So I'll go ahead and see each offer. Just give this one, the one on the left. Okay, there we go. So now we have a VRC, and we added two banners. So the first banner is that it was verified by a witness. And then the second one is telling us that it was hardware attested with, in this case, on one, we have it was signed by a secure enclave on Apple. And then on the other hand, we have it was signed by an Android T. Now each device, handle this differently. We parse it properly and then send it over and then verify regardless of which platform it's being sent to, that the chain attestation is working properly. This is still a pre-release. We still have a few things to polish, but that's the general idea. So I can go ahead and accept this, and I have a ton of other information, like the issuance date, name, email, that first R card that was shared, and of course the famous R dates, and same for the other side. So I could go ahead and accept these two credentials and just wait a couple of seconds to get each one. All right, so it looks like we got uh, each credential, and that was actually issued and verified by the witness. So now I have John Doe, which has these two um, contacts. And yeah, so we have some basic information, some of the stuff that was laid out in the R card, as well as the witness records, like the event that it was witnessed in, and who it was witnessed by. And we can of course have that DIDCOM proper private communication, which is also part of the main one of the first steps in the white paper. So yeah, so this is a pre-release. Happy to take some questions. But yeah, that's pretty much the demo.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm getting applause there. Do there's been good chat here about the witness aspect of it, because I think in some communities it could be a very nice additional, sort of verification of the relationship. Um, and Otto, you mentioned you can use a blockchain data registry to, when you say already solves that, I'm love to get your sense of was that be interacting with the blockchain data registry, or what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can use either WebVH, or you could use like a blockchain where the witness infrastructure may not be like something you have to spin up. So it's just a trade-off, right? Like if you did WebVH, you would need or it's enhanced by using the additional witnesses layer. But if you have a blockchain verifiable data registry, then that's kind of already done for you, and you don't have to worry about the additional witnesses. If I'm understanding right, unless there's something else about the DTG infrastructure that I might have missed.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point, and you're right. We have been all of these the code base you're looking at here, and then also the open source ones that we linked earlier, are currently using WebVH or did SKID VH. But they should work with any DIN method that makes sense. I mean, it is, and it's DIDCOM, of course, going on underneath the hood. So
Awesome.
excellent. Other feedback or questions? For we have 1 minute left. I want to thank Brendan Alberto for this. And by the way, is it okay? Is it up and running such that I could include the QR codes that you offered up at the end of our presentations, LFMS, in the presentation I'm doing for the Quai Summit, or would you prefer that I not do that?
You can do that with a small group like this one, with the understanding that it is pre-release,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's actively being developed. So if you find a bug or anything like that, please let us know. We will have the formal release and open sourcing on April 15th. So you can decide when you'd like to access. But if you want to put it up, you can go ahead, drum in for this group.
Awesome. That is just amazing. All right. Thank you both very much. It was great to have you there at the three events last week, and I just love seeing the code moving as fast as, or faster than we're moving the specs. So we'll rock and roll forward. And I should be in LA and on the ground for the APAC meeting tonight for anyone who wants to join that. But I also could run into transportation issues, so I'm just letting folks know. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone today. Next week, Martina has prepared a much revised overall concept interaction diagram that she wants to go over with everyone. So I'm looking forward to that, and we will rock and roll. We got a lot of work ahead of us. Again, congrats on everything we got done so far, and off to your next meeting. Thanks, everyone.